Why did we do it? The exclamation point up there was true. It looked easy. It really did. It looked like something that we could just stick an AGV in, and away we go. This was our third system, by the way. Went in about 1999, and you're going to see that one as part of the user presentation here in the end, user profile. But we saw it and we said, wow, the rack aisles are perfect, the floor is perfect, the racks are perfect. At least that's what the customer told us. And we got in and we started doing this, and we said, hey, you know what? The floor's not perfect, and the rack's not perfect. And everything else wasn't necessarily as good as we thought it was. So we were very excited. We rushed in and we did this project, and it was successful. But unfortunately, there were things that we didn't consider, things that we couldn't have foreseen. How to check racking to make sure it's absolutely perfect without checking every location. Let me tell you a little bit of something about an AGV system. In a general horizontal transport system, we pick product up one location, might take it to 5 locations. We have some Miller folks in here. We pick from 13 or 14 locations and take to 1,000 maybe not that many, bunch of floor locations. That system got 15,000 drop locations. We didn't have the tools in place when we did this. Sure, it looked easy. We had to check every position. We had to manually check every position. It took weeks to check that system out. It took on the order of a month to get it to a point where it was functioning reliably because we had to check every location. So it wasn't easy. So now, we started to look at it and we said, we did this first project, we did the second project. The second project you're going to see is the second user profile, which is a little more exciting than the first, but I don't have the return on investment numbers that I have for the first one. And we said, what did we not know? How could we get past the situation that we didn't know? Because if you've got a warehouse, what's the last thing you want me to tell you if you say, this is a great application, come in and talk to me about it, and I come in and say, well, the equipment costs all this, but we got to tear all your rack down. But you got to flatten your floor out. But you got to do this, you got to do that. It starts to add up, and those are costs that you don't see. So what we did is after that first system of this type, we started to look at what do we need to do. So, of course, get a little feedback. Of course, what we really, I mean, it's evolved to the point where, of course, more powerful controls. What does that mean and why? Why is it important? It means that now we're actually using, let's call them leading edge PC technology. We're not using bleeding edge PC technology because it costs a fortune. But with more powerful controls comes laser guidance. Okay? Now think for a moment if we're going to put this type of equipment in your warehouse and you say, put it in this warehouse, we're running existing VNA trucks. You say, no problem, if you've already got a wire cut in the floor. Anybody got VNA trucks with narrow aisles with wire guidance? A lot of people do. That's great. I mean, it works day in, day out. From a guidance standpoint, it's one of the best that you can have. It really is. Problem is, you're going to change it, which you probably aren't, but if you're going to change it, you've got to recut the floor. So we looked at this and we said, well, what do we have to do to really be proactive with someone who might say, you know, I'd like to move this equipment to a new warehouse. It's a greenfield warehouse, but I don't want to buy really an ASRS. Maybe that just doesn't fit. Maybe I don't want to build a building. Maybe you don't have the space for it, or maybe you have so much space that an existing building with standard post and beam racking is the right fit for you. But if you're going to rent or you're going to lease that building and you have to cut the floor, the owner of the building says, oh my God, I don't want you cutting my floor up. Okay, no problem. Laser guidance. We actually have found a way, let me back up, found a way to use our laser guidance to be able to put these systems in without actually having to cut the wire into the floor. The benefit for everybody is that now you can take it, move it from warehouse to warehouse. These vehicles change from aisle to aisle without having to have any guidance, any rail, anything at the ends of the aisles, so they can move from one aisle to the next aisle to the next aisle, and you find that from a flexibility standpoint, it's fantastic. It really is. We don't have to check a lot of stuff anymore. The other thing is, for us, it's faster to install. So if it's faster to install for me, what does that mean to you? You got it. You got it. It's less expensive for you as well. So your return on investment starts to happen a lot quicker. Honest to goodness, that's a good thing that happened because of that. It's less expensive for you. But for us, it's imperative. We need to get in and we need to be able to put the system in quickly, get it up and running very quickly, and our laser guidance allows us to do that. And we also, this laser that we use is incredibly accurate. It's incredibly accurate. As a matter of fact, the vendor's here somewhere. But it's a fantastic piece of equipment that has such a high resolution that it allows us to guide in these rack aisles. So you might ask, well, big deal. You couldn't do that in the past with laser guidance because the guidance systems were accurate enough, but they weren't accurate enough in angular resolution to be able to tell the difference in an angle in a very narrow aisle at a long distance. Does that make sense to people? So if I put laser targets along these walls, and the laser works line of sight, so I'm looking at the targets, I'm calculating the angles to figure out where I am. I've got these huge angles. But if I take it and I bring it back down into this 1 6-foot aisle, my angles look like this, all the way down. So laser technology has progressed to a point with this new laser, and the laser's been around for a long time. That company has been around for many, many years, supplying these lasers to AGV companies. But it has allowed us to now implement laser guidance in these aisles, which we didn't have the opportunity to do. When you see these user profiles, you see these are all wire guidance. So the technology has advanced to a point where it's much easier for us. Lift. Why does that matter? Let me tell you why it matters. We did a study recently. We brought in some consultants and we talked to them. And we said, what do most post and beam warehouses look like? Does anybody have a guess at how high the ceiling height in most of them are? Anybody? It's about 35 feet. Well, our mast goes to 35 feet, which means that if we go all the way up, we're probably going to hit the ceiling. So it's not a big deal there. But at least now we can hit the greater majority of the top rack positions in these warehouses. So we didn't have that alternative before. And you'll see before what we did is we actually used a standard Heister turret truck. And you'll see that in the presentations before. And we thought that based on using that design of vehicle, knowing how rugged they are, I mean, the guys with V&A trucks, how rugged are they? They work pretty well? Yeah? I mean, just a standard man aboard, everything seems to work. They're pretty rugged, right? What we found with our systems running 24/7 is over time they tended to wear in areas that we didn't really see in AGVs because they're not designed to be operated 24/7 like these systems are. So the design of the lift and the drives, as well as the safety systems, have allowed us to kind of branch out a lot further. This right here is a big thing, and the higher current drive means absolutely nothing to you, but Mats Herströmer, anybody know Mats Herströmer? A couple of you do. Well, he's our chief technology officer, and he has put higher current drives. You know what that means? It means that now we can run about 350 to 375 feet per minute. That's a really, really big deal because we couldn't run that fast before. Typical AGV systems, 200 feet per minute max. These vehicles, 350 to 375, and that in the world of AGVs is scary fast because you can't outrun it. You can outrun it if you got a head start, but if it sneaks up on you, it'll get you. So, laser safety systems, you'll see those in the back there. One of our vendors is back there. We use their systems for laser safety. The benefit of that, it's in a very narrow rack aisle, but we can set the profiles and we can set them out 30, 40 feet. So as a vehicle sees something in a rack aisle, it can start to slow down as it approaches. If it's smart enough to run out of the way, it'll keep going. If it is something in the aisle, it'll stop. We didn't have this technology before. Some of you guys with older AGVs probably remember plastic bumpers. Remember those? Yeah. Okay. You remember what a pain in the butt they were when they broke? They run into something, the bumper works great, the vehicle stops, bumper breaks. What do? You got to replace the bumper. Not all the time, but sometimes, certainly.